Are you ready to fight with the newest racket in the T-Fight line? Here we're going to review the Tecnifibre T Fight 300s. It's a new head size, similar spec to Iga's old racket. Check it out, see how I did, and if I want to take this racket out on court for the future. For this playtest, we decided to string up the racket with Tecnifibre Black Code in the beautiful lime green color. Not just for the fashion of it all, this is a little bit of a softer and a spin generating poly. Matches up really nicely with something like a T-Fight. Because of that smaller head size, you might want to choose something a little softer to make it a little more forgiving. But definitely the lime green pops, and it's a great string from them, and it's a classic that has carried on for years and years and years. Even as other strings are coming in and out of the lines and being updated, Black Code has held strong for many years.
The Tecnifibre T Fight 300s is, you guessed it, 300 grams, which equates to 10.6 ounces unstrung with a swing weight of 321, making it 4 points head light with a balance point of 13 inches. It has a 98 square inch head, a length of 27 inches, and an open 16 by 19 string pattern, and a constant beam of 22.5 millimeters. The stock grip is the Tecnifibre Xtra Feel, and has Tecnifibre's signature white base cosmetic, but also sports some red and blue accents and has a glossy finish. The 300s sits perfectly in between the two heavier T-Fights, the 315s and the 305s, and the two lighter T-Fights, the 280 and the 270. As you would suspect, it sits right on par in terms of weight with the T-Fight 300, but the S, standing for sharp, means it has the 98 square inch head size as opposed to a standard 100.
As with all Tecnifibre rackets, these days at least, there are all these beautiful, stunning white cosmetics. This year they've gone for a little more of a glossy feel and a glossy visual. So it's very smooth to the touch and beautifully striking on the court and on the wall. You'll notice a little more of the red, white, and blue accents to call out to the French, because it obviously is a French company, but stunning as always. And this cosmetic will be repped by Iga. She will be endorsing the 100 square inch variation of the racket, but from a distance they'll all look the same. But the T-Fights absolutely look great on the court.
Tecnifibre has always put the unstrung weight in grams in the name of the racket, and now with this new S at the end of the number, it stands for small head or a 98 square inch head. This feature is available in their 315s, 305s, and 300s.
While we would normally compare this to a previous gen of this racket is a brand new spec. The 98 square inch head size coupled with the 300 gram weight is new to the T-Fight line. However, the closest matchup would be the Tempo 298, which was Iga's racket before she moves to the T-Fight line. So plays rather similar to that. I'd say you probably get a little more pop, a little more spin out of something like this from the T-Fight. But otherwise, because the specs are very close, it'll perform very similarly. From the baseline, this racket was an absolute spin monster. I felt like even if I brushed just a little, the ball was flying really high. I was getting massively high ball trajectory, and the ball was dipping back into the court. I felt myself really needing to make sure I came over the ball a bit more as opposed to really needing to grip under it as much. Felt as long as I was getting on top of the ball and putting even a little bit of spin, just swinging upwards a little bit, I was able to get great spin, great depth, and great bounce off the court. The one drawback I felt was with the smaller head size, I felt like I was having a little trouble finding the sweet spot and dialing it in. So for those whippier strokes, I was getting myself in a little bit of trouble, but not too much. Nothing that wasn't easily compensated for with a little better focus, a little better footwork. a little more bending in the knees, all those sorts of good things. But from the baseline, this racket is an absolute monster.
When it comes to technology upgrades, Tecnifibre has improved on its already winning features. First is the frame geometry of the RS section, meaning round and square, blending the two shapes for a balance of power and control. Next is Isoflex technology located in the head of the racket, making it more rigid for a larger sweet spot, off-center hit tolerance, and stability at impact. Finally, more of an alteration than an innovation is the shifting of the weight distribution to the center of the racket, allowing for faster racket head speed. The game of tennis has sped up on average of 22 kilometers per hour in recent studies, having Tecnilab combat these changes and stay ahead of the curve with the new T Fight series.
While most 98 square inch rackets make me really comfortable at the net, this one I didn't quite dial it in. I was finding that the balls were kind of spraying a bit. There was maybe a little more power in the frame than I was ready for. So I felt myself having to draw back a little, making sure I was just blocking softly as opposed to really going for my volleys on every single one. But pretty comfortable up at net. Again, just like with the baseline, the sweet spot was a little small, a little harder to find than I would like, but very maneuverable. Otherwise, it was okay up at net, but I just didn't feel like I had the touch that I wanted. I felt like I only had the sort of block volleys. So maybe this is a little more of what I'd call a crush and rush kind of racket. You're grinding it out from the baseline, hit a good hard ball, coming in and finishing up at net. But getting into protracted rallies up at net was not something I really wanted to do with this racket.
This racket scored very well in our Solow Sports review. As a spin-centric frame with a sub 100 square inch head size, this racket is catered towards players who have a more modern game style, whippier strokes, and are willing to gain some stability and control in exchange for less power. The ideal player for this racket has an NTRP rating of 4.0 or higher, can generate their own pace, and hits with a variety of spins. Whether you're rocking a one-hander like Chris Eubanks or a two-hander like Iga Swiatek, this racket will work well for your game. Though the combination of a 98 square inch head and 300 gram weight is rare, its closest relative would be the Wilson RF01, but it's definitely competing with the likes of the Babolat Pure Aero 98, the Head Extreme Pro, the Yonex V-Core 98, and the Dunlop SX 300 Tour. I highly recommend you add this racket to your arsenal ahead of your next match.
Thanks for sticking around to the end of our review of the Tecnifibre T Fight 300s. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and bang that notification bell so you're always up to date on when new videos are dropping. We're always testing new rackets, new shoes, and we always look forward to seeing you in the next video.